I originally was going to have a video up discussing my thoughts on the Final Fantasy I Pixel Remaster, but we're going to be talking about something else related to Square Enix instead. Something that we won't feel for quite a while, but if those gears in motion are set, well, it'll be an unfortunate precedent of what that can mean for many gamers. Hey everyone, it's Yggdrasiel and welcome back to another video, and today I just briefly wanted to chat with you all and discuss a small bit of news with a lot of potential impact shared with us by Genki on Twitter, or rather now X. Genki was informed by gaming tech and social media analyst David Gibson that Square Enix is reportedly planning to shift focus from smaller niche to mid-sized games and emphasize more on AAA titles moving forward. This is part of a focused strategy revamp that will take the company several years before it can be fully implemented. Genki then went on to reiterate that this is an unfortunate industry-wide trend and that hopefully Team Asano can still come out well. Team Asano being the division that is responsible for acclaimed titles such as the Octopath Traveler series. Now, seeing this news got me really heated to the point where I was prompted to make this video and just discuss with you all very briefly my disappointment in this decision and what this could mean for fans of Square Enix games going forward. You see, the reason why I'm so upset is that over the last few years, and especially from Square Enix, we have been peppered with so many wonderful niche to mid-sized productions. In fact, and largely as a result of this, Square Enix is the #1 Switch third party as a result. Now, for the last while, and I'm sure a fair amount of you guys can feel this way, but gaming's been an incredible space right now for the last handful of years. It's almost as if we are in some form of gaming renaissance that is spread out to many of these larger publishers and studios. This has also been displayed by Square Enix, with last year alone being phenomenal. Now sure, we had obvious misses with Chocobo GP and Babylon's Fall, but you know what else we got last year? We got Star Ocean The Divine Force, Harvestella, Geofield Chronicle, Triangle Strategy, Valkyrie Elysium, Tactics Ogre Reborn, and so much more. That trend only continued with games such as Octopath Traveler 2 and the Live Alive remake that have come out this year. In fact, I've bought more games published by Square Enix within the last 2 years than I ever have in my life, and most of them have been these small to mid-sized productions. So hearing this news is quite a blow not only to myself, but to many of these smaller communities that a lot of these games have been targeting. The salt in the wound is the shift in focus away from these productions and instead channeling potential resources into AAA titles. Now, I'm not one to doom and gloom on AAA productions, far from it, but let's take a look specifically at AAAs published specifically by Square Enix. If we disregard the largest mainstays such as Final Fantasy, Square has had a particularly troubling record within the last few years. I've already mentioned Babylon's Fall and Chocobo GP, which at least that one's being partly mended, but there's also been Marvel's Avengers, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Outriders, and who can forget the absolute dumpster fire that was Forspoken earlier this year, a game that cost over $100 million to make, that sales were so lackluster the developing studio Luminous Productions had been dissolved and its members shuffled around the company. In a highly fluid and ever-evolving landscape such as gaming, and during an age where costs of production are rising to the point where $70 price tags, on top of the DLC trend, on top of the Battle Pass trend, are trying to be pushed as a new norm, AAA titles are double-edged swords that have become more sharp than ever before, especially if they are attempting to be sold to a broad audience with shaken confidence, like with Square Enix's community. Now sure, maybe all of these smaller productions don't make enough to impress shareholders or board members, but you know what they do? They keep segments of the community of that brand happy, engaged with the products, and satisfied knowing that there's a publisher that can target their favorite niches. And now with that statement out, if Square Enix follows through on said statement, then that just means that swaths of the community that's largely enjoyed the last few years with these satisfying titles has to endure seeing their renaissance period fade out. For me then personally, I just have two hopes, the first of which being that Square Enix can realize these core fundamental issues with some of these AAA productions that they've published, that they could perhaps better express to or hire developers that really know what makes a game intrinsically enjoyable, satisfying to play, and what really gives it value in the eye of the consumer. I earnestly wish that these extraneous resources aren't misused and only expound upon the losses that a fair margin of Square's AAA productions have already shown they are prone to. And then my second hope is that this lessened focus on small to mid-sized productions won't detract away from overall quality. Arguing quantitatively, saturation of games is one thing, but even if we get a handful less games than we've been receiving, let's say in the last 2 to 3 years, so long as they maintain the current level of quality that they've been able to satiate customers with for so long, then I feel that I can breathe a little bit better. But if we get the double whammy of not only we're not getting enough games to target our niche, but also those games have become noticeably worse than what we had in the past, well, that would just feel quite like a bitter pill to swallow. What's more, that could also then further spiral into a scenario where if those smaller titles aren't doing so hot, to the point where even dedicated fans of the community aren't as interested, well, that can reflect in Square Enix's earnings statements and could even push them to double down instead on those AAA productions, which then may or may not do well either, as we've come to see and expect from them. Overall, it's just quite a precarious notion that we will have to see play out over the next couple of years if Square Enix is dead set on pursuing this. Plans can always change, or hey, who knows, maybe Square Enix is finally going to get their AAA footing down and we'll have a handful of large and wonderful titles. But given their recent track record, as well as their modern business practices, I'm keeping my expectations low. But tell me, what are your expectations and what are your thoughts on the matter? Let me know down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving it a like and subscribing to my channel for more gaming content. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and as always, have a great day.